All right, we are live. Bjoern Woltermann, welcome to the future of fitness, my friend.
Thanks, Eric, for having me.
Very excited to have you. This is a bit of technology I've been hoping to cover for quite some time, and thank you to the good folks at Jack Taylor PR for helping facilitate this. Always a pleasure working with them. And I'm going to keep everything brief because I have you for a limited amount of time, but there's so much I want to cover. As we were talking in the pre-recording, I'm like, oh my God, there's actually a ton we need to get across here. So let's start with this, Bjorn, if you don't mind, just give us a little bit of your background, how you got to be the CEO and founder of Katalyst, and then we'll take it from there.
Perfect. I was born in Germany, and after high school, joined the Air Force, was on the path to become a pilot or navigator, and had a small accident where inline skating accidents, they x-rayed my lower back and found out that I have basically 3 discs that are almost non-existent. And they said, you're not going to sit in planes for extended periods of time. So that was out. Sold a company that I had in high school, which was getting people out of the typewriter age in the early 90s. So in the evenings and nights, we basically got doctors and lawyers and so on computers, made a ton of money with that in relation to where we were at the time. Sold that, went to university, became an economist. So I'm a behavioral economist with a specialization in game theory, which is you predict outcomes and human behavior and help people to be successful or win a negotiation, any of these things that you can do with that. After that, I joined a group that basically built the Zillow of Europe. We also had the Cars.com of Europe. So basically all these e-commerce verticals got acquired by Deutsche Telekom in 2009. Said, I'm not going to work for a telco. I'm not going to do that. Sorry. But my former group CEO, good friend, asked me, can you help me get into the digital age? The iPhone was 1 year old, and the social media world just opened, and everybody was trying to figure out how this world is going to evolve. So I spent the next years 150 days a year on a plane, flying from Israel to the West Coast, East Coast, spend a lot of time abroad and then in our local countries. So for context, we're the parent company of T-Mobile, that company is I'm not there anymore, parent company of T-Mobile, and we have 15 other T-Mobiles in the world. So it was a pretty big operation. And during that time, sitting 150 days on a plane was specifically the thing that the physician 15 years earlier told me I should never be doing. So I was in agony. I was in really bad shape. I was 20 days a month on a painkiller. So couldn't really do anything. I was about 30 pounds lighter than now, but not in good 30 pounds, just not good composition. Was a runner, lean, but, not strong enough to basically support my spine, especially not when I was sitting, and then you're sitting in board meetings all the time and you're sitting in front of a computer all the time. So my lower back was really in agony. And my physician said, you're either going to fix this, for context, I was 35 at the time. You're either going to fix this or you're going to end up with a herniated disc very soon. So he said, go to this training studio. I go there twice a week. So my physician, go there twice a week. I love it. And I was like, interesting. And he says, it's amazing. It's totally going to strengthen your core. It's going to fix your problems. You're going to get in shape. And the best thing is it's just 20 minutes. I'm like, okay, now you lost me. It's too good to be true. Forget about it. That doesn't work. And he said, please, please, please go. So I walked down the road. It was 500 meters from there, which is 550 yards. And so was there and looked through the window, and there were 2 individuals, a 30-year-old male and a mid-50s, late 50s female. And they were sitting side by side in black suits with cables everywhere in front of a personal trainer, moving their arms with nothing in their hands. And they were sweating like crazy. And I was like, what is this? And so I got the rundown, how it works. We're using muscle stimulation technology to create resistance in your body, and your muscle is working against the other muscle, so agonist and antagonist, and so on and so forth. So I said, I want to try this. And they said, yeah, come next week. We're booked. I'm like, what? Huh? Okay, so I came a week later, did this. 3 minutes in, I was dripping, and I was wow, this is your body is just so active. You get access to your body in a way that you never had it. And time flew by. 20 minutes were short. It was intense. I was panting and doing an empty nothing in your hands butterfly was hard. And I was mind blown, just from an experience perspective. Wow. I was not in pain, had no issues with my back. So I don't lift weights because I'm not loading my spine. And 2 nights later, I was in Frankfurt in a hotel room. I was so sore, I couldn't get off the toilet at night after I basically went there overnight. And I was like, wow, I just spent 20 minutes in this thing. I didn't lift anything. I didn't do anything. And my body feels like I went through a grueling exercise, like for 2 hours or something like that. I was like, okay, interesting. Next Monday, I went again and signed up. So every Monday at 6 p.m. Monday was my non-travel day. So over the weekend, I tried to be home with my wife. Back then, fiance at the time. So ex-girlfriend, fiance. And so Monday was my non-travel day. 5:30, I left the office. 6 o'clock, I was at this studio. 6:30, I was done. 6:35, I was home. It was close to my home. And it really fit into my lifestyle as well, which was like high travel, no time, like super busy. 6 weeks later, I wake up Sunday morning and I said, like, I think I haven't taken a pill in a week. And I can get out of bed without this weird roll that I used to do. And I was like, there's something here. And then my wife started to become a customer. And same year in the fall, we took a tour and we visited some friends in California. And we were sitting with like 4 couples, and the girls were talking about fitness. I'm doing Zumba. I think that was a thing at the time, and doing this and that and the other. And my wife said, we're using these suits and it's amazing. It does this, and everything is a bit firmer and everything is a bit tighter and nicer. And like, I don't have to go to the gym. And the other 3 were looking at her like, what are you talking about? And I thought, I just overheard it. And I thought, sorry, I'm sitting in Beverly Hills. You guys invent all this stuff and you don't have this?
Right.
And that blew my mind. And I was like, okay, getting down this journey, and that sparked everything.
Yeah. Amazing, man. And like, it's just funny that if anywhere in the United States seems like they would have adopted EMS, it would have been Hollywood, right?
Totally.
Like that's the one spot.
Now they are. Now they have.
Oh, I'm sure.
No, I know. I have the list of people.
Okay, good. Yeah. You have verified data. Even better. So the thing about it, and we're going to get into it, but maybe you can explain in a second what exactly it is. But,
Yes.
when I look back at like EMS, my first memory, I don't know if you had this, in Europe, but I remember Bruce Lee selling this abdominal training unit where you stick these little pads in it, your muscle just flex. And he claimed to use it. I don't know if he did or not, or if he just sold a ton of them. But that was like, I remember back then, be like, what? Like, is that even possible? I mean, obviously Bruce Lee is ripped, right? That guy is, but that was kind of it. I feel like it's gone dark. I know in Europe, and you can shed some light on this, it's very popular. I'm sure other parts of the world as well, but it just hasn't quite gotten to the United States in full force yet. So give us maybe a little bit of background on your knowledge of EMS, what it is, and then, how it's starting to make its way over here.
So first of all, yes, the Bruce Lee story is true. Actually, I did not know that he was the one selling the app belts. What I can say is he used devices. I think that was Russian stim back in the time.
Mm-hmm.
So the Russians in the 70s started to experiment around that. And once of a sudden at the Olympic Games, they had sprinters that came out of nowhere. And people were like, like how is that happening? 1 second. How is that happening? And so it actually works, and it helps you stimulate muscle fibers that you hardly can reach, and you get a fuller contraction, so fuller tetanus than you would normally have. And he really used it. And there's like even a scene, I think, in Dragon, the Bruce Lee story with like Brandon Scott Lee. It's like, where he like, has that, and they actually use that. However, the productization for the mass market, where there is an app belt that is being run by a watch battery and it lasts for like 3 months, like what? It's like, so it's almost saying like, hey, my buddy has a Tesla, so I'm buying a toy car and I'm trying to find like, go to California with that from Vegas. Like that just doesn't work. So the general concept works, but you have to be honest in how much tech do you have to put into it so that you have a minimal viable dose or a minimal effective dose. And an app belt that's claiming rock hard apps that's being run by a watch battery is just not credible, and it didn't work, and it actually destroyed a lot of the credibility of using muscle stimulation as a training methodology, where in physiotherapy it's been used for 60 years, like consistently. Like, so almost like when I ask people, have you ever had a TENS unit, like when you had an injury? Yeah. Like half of the people say, yeah, I know about it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the productization in the 80s and 90s was just really bad, and the marketing went overboard. And this is actually why in 99, the FDA started regulating powered muscle stimulators as a medical device, where you can't just claim whatever you want.
Got it. That's a good background. And is that part of the issue with it being the United States, was the regulation around it?
Yes. So what basically, yes, exactly. What basically happened, so in the early 2000s, some German engineers basically said, like, why do we do sticky pads? And why do we just do it on two muscles? And why don't we use it before I get injured? Right. And then the Klitschko's used it a lot, and Usain Bolt used it in the like late 2000s all the time. And by the time he posted a selfie with himself, the whole thing broke loose. But what was happening is in Europe and the rest of the world, minus like 3-4 countries now, it's regulated as consumer electronics. So the same as a blow dryer or a toothbrush or something like that. Like, yes, it's an electrical device, but it's not invasive that you need to regulate it as a medical device. So all these devices were illegal in the United States. So the US is about 10 to 15 years behind, because the technology was not available. It's a little bit like stem cell technology is available, like medical technology is available, like in lots of countries in the world. In the US, you can only use your own, and so on and so forth. So it's similar to that.
Got it. And how big is it in other countries? Like, I know Europe, like where has it been adopted early, and where do you think it's kind of hit
so
mainstream?
Germany was the first. Germany was the first market that really broke. So in 2012, when I started researching this and said, like, what is this? Like, does this make sense? Like, how big is it? And so on and so forth. We already had 500 personal training studios back then. For context, Germany is 80 million people. It's about quarter to a fifth of the United States. And we already had 500 studios. We then in Germany alone grew to 3,000 pre-pandemic. So those are kind of like the last numbers that are really reliable. At that time, we had about 13,000 studios worldwide. So Spain had 1,000, and Australia has like 200, or like, it's literally everywhere. South Africa has like 150. It's like Bogota, Colombia at that time had more studios than the United States. So it's just really, really weird, because also England was late. So the UK was late, and Spain was early. So, but the Spanish culture translates into South America. So South America, Brazil, Argentina, what's early adopters, because that is like where culture, basically cross pollinates. But the UK was late, so the US also didn't hear that. So it was kind of like a ripple effect. There were multiple aspects around that, where it slowed down adoption, or basically hindered adoption in the United States. But the biggest thing is, for Europeans doing business in America, first of all, legal immigration is very, very hard in the United States, and being able to start a business is very, very difficult. A lot of entrepreneurs that, for example, brought it to South Africa or Indonesia were Germans that were traveling a place, liked the place, stayed. What are we going to do? Oh, I do this thing. Let's start a franchise. And like, this is literally how it spread. But that's not possible in the United States, because you need to have like visas and work permits and all these things. And, getting legal to actually run a business is really, really hard. So that was a prohibitor. The other thing is, there are these myths or non-myths that if you spill hot coffee over a customer's hand, you get sued for millions of dollars. And people are afraid of doing that. So those were multiple things. And then the FDA says you have to get through this regulation. Okay, so now I have a regulatory body that I need to get through. Those are big entry barriers.
Yeah, that's a shame. And now that I think about it, as we're talking, I did do an interview about 6 years ago with someone who was trying to bring the technology over from Germany. I don't think it ever clicked for her. Now, you mentioned that the studio model, like a franchise model, but you guys are direct to consumer, right?
Yes, we are.
So maybe give us a little background on like how a normal franchise model would work for something like this. Is it small group? Is it, and how that does, and then why you decided now to go direct to consumer?
So EMS technology, when I found it, was clumsy, cumbersome. It's like $25,000 a unit, cables everywhere, and technically it's dumb. So it's like a piano. Let's say you have a piano. You can have it sit there. You can shout at it. Nothing comes out of it, right? You need a musician to actually get something out of it, and the piano doesn't know if the notes are right or wrong or whatsoever. Like there's no smarts in a piano. It's a beautiful instrument, but there's no smarts. Guitar, the same thing. Yeah. So you always need someone who really knows what they're doing. So first of all, someone needs to operate it, and then there's a difference between like, do you have someone who like plays the piano well or doesn't play the piano well? So there's like quality like differences like that are massive, like in any profession.
Sure.
So how it would work is you had two of these devices and a trainer playing DJ on both of these devices while he's telling the customers what to do. Okay, now we do squats, and he counts down 8, 7, 6, 5. And this is how the personal training would work. Basically, you manually adjust what you think is the right thing for the customer, but it's guesswork at the end of the day and a little bit feedback from the customer. It's not really that you can hand them like 5 pounds and this is 5 pounds. So it's a lot of like, guesswork around this. And even that was like vastly successful. Absolutely works, right? It definitely works. But from a unit economics, you have to pay rent for a studio and you always have to pay the trainer. And personal training is expensive. So even the people that go to Equinox, they are not constantly paying $100-something per hour for a personal trainer, because that would be prohibitively expensive. So if you do this like 4, 8, 10 times a month, like you're $1,500, like, that's not achievable. And today in the United States, like I would say like EMS training in a studio starts at about $100 a session, but normal is like $150, something like that, $200 a session. So studio was the first thing we could do because it was basically we had to build our own product and then get through the regulatory process. And we started with a prescription device. So like any medical thing that you get, like it's prescribed by a physician in the first place. And then years later, when we find out it's safe enough to use for customers on their own, we get it over the counter. That's like the same process basically with us. So we started with that. And our customers, like day one, by the way, in 2013, I brought a device over to California, and I had a few friends over, and I gave them a workout, and then I gave them a questionnaire, and they all said, I want my own suit. I don't want to share a suit with someone else. Obviously.
Right.
And I want to do it at home. And that was before Peloton launched. That was like super interesting for me. Like, we were like, okay, this is it. Like, that's what I have to build. But I couldn't get there right away. So we had to start with studios. We had to collect a ton of data, really understand how everything works. And then I built software and even in hardware that does things that the trainer even can't do. So because the trainer can't guess and see like how it feels to the muscle, and they can't know like how well, how hydrated is the person at the time, and do they have cream on the skin, or have they shaved or not? Like, and those are all things that impact the intensity of a contraction, because the signal has to go through the skin, and if there's hair, there's more insulation. If there's less hair, there's less insulation, and if there's like a lipid cream on the skin, like there's more insulation. So all these things that trainers can't do. And for us, ultimately, or for me, ultimately, the goal is to make it absolutely normal to use this technology. So similar to an electric toothbrush. So we all had like kind of like exposure to fitness, and as we had exposure to toothbrushes, but an electric toothbrush has made the outcome so much better. And we can talk about like who's the audience like for EMS training, but ultimately, if I want to do this as a customer, it should not be good luck, bad luck if I live within the radius of like 2 miles or 3 miles of a studio. If I want to do it, I want to do it no matter where I live. And that's my personal mission. So my personal mission is really to put a dent into the CDC statistics of health and wellness and cross the chasm, because the fitness industry is, as with all the things that we're trying to do, only serving about 15 to 20% of the population. And 80% are saying like, fitness is not for me. And if you see the adult population as your TAM, total addressable market, you haven't crossed the chasm, because you're still on the 15% of early adopters. So you never got there. And the reason why we never got there, and this is like coming back to like why it has to be an end consumer product, is the accessibility has to be high. It has to be very, very high. And all we're doing in fitness, and this is not, again, dissing, but we're using technology to motivate people. Like we still have a bike, we still have a rower, we still have weights, we still have that. It's like all the same as it was before. But now we put a screen with a fancy model in front of you and a great DJ in the background, and we tell you how you did, and we tell you how your friend did. It's like, it's all basically motivation. And in behavior science, where I come from, you can only temporarily change behavior with motivation because motivation falls off.
Yep.
But what you can do is you can change behavior if you make things easier. And even myself, and I just come off our kickoff for this year with the team, I shied away from the term easy for years because like easy and fitness doesn't go together. Like, this seems like a cheat or whatsoever. Maybe, maybe not. I'm not convinced anymore. I think easy is the way to go if we want to serve the masses. And the analogy for me would be the toothbrush, right? It made it easier to have the right stroke, to have the right time, like to have the right amount of, brushing within a short amount of time. And in the 80s, we thought electric toothbrushes for $100 are a yuppie product. Today, we all have an electric toothbrush and we buy the heads at Costco. So it is a question of time, of penetration, but being able to serve the public at scale and everyone in the country, it has to be a home product. And this is why I pushed so hard to build a consumer product.
Yeah. Your insights on human behavior are really back up a lot of things I've talked about on this podcast and super interesting. I think it's something that people maybe don't quite grasp within our industry all the time, but humans will always lean towards convenience, right? Friction is a big deal. Like
Yes.
Example, N equals 1, just me. But I love going to the gym. I love lifting weights. I love the sauna. I love all those things. But I use my tonal unit more often than not because it's literally 10 feet from my bed. So I wake up in the morning. I'm like, well, I know I can get it done now, right? I don't know what else is going to happen throughout the day, but all I literally have to do is like roll over, put on my sweats and a t-shirt, right? And drink some water and start training. That to me has been really critical, especially in the winter months, as we were talking about being in Whitefish, Montana. It's a lot easier to roll out of bed than have to dig out your car. So I love that. And I think what I'd like to learn more about, and maybe we can do it in this way, is walk me through the consumer experience, Bjorn, like from the first point of like, they find you somehow through whatever, social media, referral, they go to your website. Walk me through that whole process and what does that look like now?
So when you come to our website and you ultimately decide, because your friend told you or you heard us here or what you read, you want to have a unit, you're gonna place an order. You have two alternatives. So there's the hardware, and then there's a subscription component or like a content component, I would say. And you can decide how many years you basically want to commit to, and there's a discount around that. And you're going to decide you want to place an order, and you can either pay right away or you can affirm it. If you say like, hey, I want like installments, which is like $98 a month, which, in relation to like, you could get one EMS training in a studio for that, or you can have a gym membership and something like that. But here you have the product that you can use all the time, travel with it, and we can go more into like the product features. So, but you're going to place an order, and people generally say like, but wait, but this is a suit. Like, how do you know sizes and so on and so forth, right? So the thing is, the customer doesn't decide the sizes, because how should they know? And because we're a medical device, we don't want this to like send, doesn't work, come back whatsoever, because we can't resell it. Like everybody wants a new product. It's sealed, it's, clean and so on and so forth. So we can't do that. So afterwards, we're going to send you a link. The link has a questionnaire with about 8 questions. It's like your age, your gender, your height, your weight, shoe size for men, interestingly, has a big correlation about body composition and other things. So we have a bunch of this, and then there's an AI that is selecting the right pieces of our modular suit for you. And the reason why we made this, so the suit has sized and unsized pieces. So for example, the electronics are same size for everyone. But the suit comes in 3 components plus a base layer. The base layer is sized. It's like a 3D knitted, so seamlessly knitted compression 2-piece base layer. and it's optimized for conductivity and, sweat absorption and all these things. And the suit comes with two of these sets, so that you don't constantly have to do the washing and the laundry. And then the electronic suit actually consists of 3 pieces. There's a pair of arm straps, there's a vest, and there's shorts. So the shorts go for glutes, hamstrings, and quads, and then the vest, everything around the torso, and the arm straps go for biceps and triceps. And the reason why we did that, and each of them comes in like a ton of different sizes. And the reason why we did it this way is I want to be able to serve anyone. So if you are like 75, atrophied, weigh 100 pounds, I have a suit for you. If you are a 400-pound O-line center and you want to do an extra training because your knees are shot, I have a suit for you. So that's really the mission of the company, is really to make people successful and help them. We even have a guarantee, like, we had a lady call us. It's like, hey, I want to lose a ton of weight and so on and so forth. I'm not going to fit. If I'm successful with this, I'm not going to fit into the suit anymore in 6 months. So now I'm buying something that's expensive and I'm not going to fit in it in 6 months. What am I going to do? Like, literally what we tell people is, don't worry about that. If you shrink out of your suit because you're successful, we give you a new one. Like, literally, like, we don't ask questions. Like, it's part of our mission to make people successful. And I'm not going to punish anyone for being successful. That's just who we are. Like, that's literally like, how we approach this. So you're going to get a box, which people tell us is a great unboxing experience, which has all the electronics, all the accessories, and has your pieces. And you unbox it. You install an app on your iOS device, your iPad, your iPhone, now even Apple Watch. But Apple Watch is just a remote control, so to say, like it's an add-on experience. And you create your account. Asks you again a few questions, like what are your goals? What are you trying to achieve? Like, how often do you work out today? Which gives us context around, like, who's our customer? Who's this person? Because we can highly personalize and down the road even more the workouts that you're supposed to do and that are going to help you. And then there's like a tutorial, like, how do you unbox the suit? How you put it together? Like, how do you prepare it? How do you properly put it on? And like, because it has to be tight, it can't be loose, and so on and so forth. And then there is a first workout. And the first workout helps you tune the system to your body, because some people say, like, I want more here, I want less there. It gets like a personalized profile, like an equalizer in your sound system. Like, some people still remember that we had these. So I want more here, I want less there. And then from there on, when you're working out and you're making even small adjustments or giving feedback to the product, the system learns over time how you want to work out, what you want to do it. And during the workout, one of the things that were the design principles of making a great experience is, I want the customer not to play the piano. So there has to be someone, like, the piano has to play itself. So we have to create Spotify at the end of the day, because you cannot dance and play the piano at the same time.
Sure.
And that's really the thing here. You just play start, and then the trainer is going to tell you what to do, but they're also adjusting the suit as we go through the workout. So the analogy would be, I'm in the gym and the weights adjust themselves automatically, like in your tonal, right? So in your tonal, like, the weight for the next exercise is this, and the weight for the next exercise is this. And that happens, and then you get out of it, you get out of the suit, you hang the suit, you take a shower, and you're done.
Amazing. It sounds so simple. What is the promise of Katalyst? Like, what do you, I guess here, let me ask that in a better way. What are the results that most people want when they buy a unit or they engage in your product and service?
2 groups. The first group is the group that is already active. They already have a regiment. They're runners, they're cyclists, they're CrossFitters, they're like active people. A lot of people with busy schedules that just want to get more. And they want to get an additional workout in. The thing where Katalyst really shines, or the aspect where Katalyst really shines, is strength training. Reaching muscles that are really hard to train or that you hate to train. Is like, hey, we all know this. When we go to, even the ones who go to the gym, we have our favorite exercises, then we have things we just skip, like,
Yeah, totally guilty. Yep.
Yes, all of us. And the big benefit here is we can reach muscles, and this was like the big thing for me with my lower back, rectus spinae, core, abductors, like all these things, abs, and really, really deeply engage these muscles And you're going to see results that with general weights or whatsoever are not possible because the level of muscle activation, muscle fiber recruitment is just so much higher. Does it completely replace weights? No, it does not. But as an add-on, it's absolutely fantastic. We have pro athletes who use it post-game day because your knees are shot. Mentally, you're not really there. Emotionally, you're not really willing to like go beyond. And you're a little bit on the ride because the thing is like almost carrying you. Like, you have to stay with it and you have to be focused. Yes, fine. But it's not like, oh, am I going to do another rep? Am I going to do another? No, you're going to do another rep, like, because you're on the ride. Like that's literally what it is. So emotionally, it's like much lesser. So again, for people, it's an add-on. For others, and this is actually like one of the big hopes that I had to achieve, and we're now seeing the first data that we're doing that, is audiences that thought fitness is not for me or not anymore for me. They're either overweight, they have previous injuries, they are older, especially women that are a little bit older, like they're afraid to go to the gym, they're afraid to lift weights, they suffer from sarcopenia, large atrophy, and they don't really have a solution for that. So for them, it is a literally life-changing training because instead of going down on the muscle mass, you go back up. And instead of going down on your flexibility, you go back up. And that is basically the entry drug or the re-entry drug, so to say, into a healthier lifestyle, being able to support your skeleton and carry you well, have better metabolism because like the more muscle mass you have, the better your metabolism is. People who tell us I do this for weight loss, we first of all educate them a little bit and say like, you don't just look at the scale and the number. Like I'm about 30 pounds heavier than I was when I started Katalyst, but I dropped about 6-7% body fat. So like my body composition is like significantly different than it was 10 years ago. Right? Huge difference, right? So I'm 210, 215 now, 10, 12%, 10, 11%, and I'm almost 50. So it's like, that's kind of like, yeah, I'm a better version of myself than I was 10 years ago. And I'm super happy about that. Sleep better, like not in pain, active, can't run that much anymore because my knees are shot, but it doesn't matter. Like, it still works. So it's the two groups. For people that have not been successful with fitness, so transcending the fitness market, and for people who want to do more. Is it an executive who just like, wants to get another workout in? Is it a triathlete who wants to do this? Or is it someone who's just a gym goer and wants to get something on top of it? Those are the two groups. Strength training forward. We're also doing good cardio work. For example, I combine the cardio mode, which is not a full tetanus, it's just like twitches, with an assault bike, which is like the ultimate VO2 torture machine.
Wow.
But it really works. Like it's killer.
Interesting. And I got to get my hands on this. So is there still necessary for some kind of medical authorization? Like, do you still have to get a letter? No. Okay. So great. You subverted that. That's great. I would imagine too, with the massive trend of longevity, that this is becoming quite an attractive thing, right? Like, I haven't seen you in person, right? Oh, nice longevity mindset. I love it. That's on this mug. I haven't met you in person. We're probably about the same age. You look great, dude.
Thanks.
You look much younger than almost 50. So obviously it's doing something by helping you stay young, and obviously you're just N=1 as well. But like, how are you guys looking into, you must be looking to longevity angle, how that's affecting people's aging. So give us some insights on how that's fitting into that trend.
Yeah, so we've been part of the longevity community like before it became really the broad thing. So Peter Diamandis is a great friend of ours. Like, I've been speaking at basically every of his event for the last 2 years. We have quite a significant audience over 50. We have long-term studies from Germany on using full body EMS training, especially in the female 75 plus year old audience. And what we're seeing is literally reversing the aging based on the markers of body composition, muscle mass, bone density, mitochondrial activity, like all these markers. And where a lot of longevity is nutrition and I would say disease prevention, like we're actively helping with the one thing that it's basically the the antidote to all but one of anti-aging, that's exercise. And we're really helping with that. And then you have, again, like I said earlier, you have more muscle mass, you have like more testosterone, you have better like hormone levels for women, you have like more resilience, your immune system is better, you have a higher metabolic rate, basic metabolic rate, all the things above. You have less likelihood of cardiovascular disease, you have lower insulin levels, like all these benefits. And we fit very well into the holistic approach of longevity, where nutrition is like massive, where mental health is important, but highly influenced by the absence of sugars in your body, and so on and so forth. But we are actively improving body composition in the customer or in the patient, and that really, really helps with longevity. Another aspect of that is it prevents you from falling, from tripping, from other aspects. Even if you are in a car accident, the more muscle mass you have, the less likely it is to break bones, because that's your armor. It's like, it keeps you in place. It improves quality of life. Like, can you lift your grandchildren or can you not? Like, can you play with them or not? Like, it's just, can you take the stairs or not? Or can you carry your groceries home or not? It's like the level of autonomy that healthy muscle mass is providing we're going to add years of life expectancy. I would bet on that. And one of the reasons why we have such low life expectancy in the United States is obesity. Yeah. And that's corn syrups and whatsoever, but that's another rabbit hole. Yeah, but the longevity piece is a big piece for us. One last comment. The reason why I'm so excited at the moment that we are seeing data that supports that is like we see age group data and so on and so forth, but we also see what types of sizes we have to send to people. So based on the first year of data, we ordered a size curve, like, how many L's do we have versus XLs versus M versus S and so on and so forth. And we ran into an issue that we ran out of XL vests. So for context, I'm like 6'4", 215 pounds. I'm a low end of a large vest. We are fully booked out of XL vests. So this is like 300 pounds plus people. And we're booked out. Like, we're totally like, okay, so we are like rushing them in. Like, in a few weeks, we got to get them back, and so on and so forth. So totally over indexed on an audience that is definitely not fit. And if we compare that, these are not bodybuilders, right? It's like just from an age and like, other measurements perspective, like we're not talking bodybuilders here. And I'm so hopeful because now there's an audience that hasn't been successful in the past, because otherwise they wouldn't have these, measurements. And we're able to help them, but also they're seeing hope that there is something out there. They're trying again. And that is the big hurdle that we have to overcome. And I'm very passionate about.
Love it. And the cost to consumer, I know you mentioned, like, I think it was $98 a month, right? If someone was going to buy it outright on one side,
$2,500 is the equipment. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. That's very comparable to the, connected home fitness market.
Yeah. This is how far we could get it down. Like I said, so the studio equipment is like $20,000, like $25,000. And we have to basically bring the cost down. And, but just for clarity, it's not a lesser product. It has the same output, has the same power, has the same, ability to do, but it has the smarts to actually do it without a trainer. So if anyone tells you like, oh, this is an over the counter, it's like it's not true. It's like, it's literally the same specs, just from a signal perspective that we're sending. It's just so much more consumer friendly. And I think like it's a 15-year more modern design. So we were able to like shrink things down quite a bit and improve on the technology. And this is why we can send it to the end consumer. Awesome.
Bjorn, I always like to get some insights into the business as it is now. If I know you're a private company, right? If you can share, I don't know, whatever you want, like funds raised, size of your team, any business metrics, just let us know what you can share.
Yeah, the last round that we did is like a year and a half, a little bit over a year and a half, almost 2 years ago. We raised $26 million back in the days, led by Stripes. We had a bunch of celebrities, in the round. Some of them named, some of them not. And the team is about 35 people now. We're very small for what we're doing. I'm a big fan of like small but mighty group and really have the right people on the bus. Very tightly knit. Like I said, so although we're remote, we're making sure people know each other. So we now spend like 3 days in Vegas, and we're like all together in a resort off in the desert by a large lake, and had a great time. I really spend time together and not really work on projects, but work on knowing each other, because then you're better on projects afterwards.
Yeah.
Did that. We were supply constrained for about 2.5 years. Chip shortages really hit us. Supply chain shortages really hit us. So this is the year where we're able to go out and we're more public and tell more people about it. When I had high profile members join us in the last 2 years, and they said like, "Oh, I want to post about this," and like, please don't post about this, right? If you post about, that was literally the thing. It's like they were like, "What? Like, what? Why?" Like I would no. So this has been plaguing us for 2 years, but we're over that hump now. So now we're able to deliver, minus the XL best, which we, gonna deliver in 3 weeks again. But again, like nice problems to have. Yeah. Thousands of customers, like super happy, interesting age distribution. So it's very even across the age groups from 30s. Like the sweet spot is like 35 to 55 is kind of like the sweet spot. We have a lot of customers in their 60s and 70s as well. Very similar usage pattern. So people who never worked out use it about 6-7 times a week. If you think a 20-minute workout from a muscle contraction perspective, so we're not doing a blunt marketing claim here. It's like we're just literally looking like how much time and attention does each muscle group have during these 20 minutes of workout, and that's like net 10 minutes for each muscle group, and then a portion of that is dynamic, portion of that is static or isometric. It's like kind of like it would take you an hour and a half to 2 hours in the gym to get the same work done on your body. So now a person that never worked out, that's like 7 times in the suit, that's like 14 hours in the gym. You can imagine like someone who's never worked out, if they spend 14 hours in the gym per month, like what that does to them. It's just the favorite part, and then I'm going to close this out. Like the favorite part of my job is like random people that I don't know sending me LinkedIn messages because they find out like, who did this? Like, I'm a customer of this, who did this? And then they sent me DEXA scans, and they sent me like the in-body measurements, and they sent me before and after pictures like of random people. It's just, and it's just joyful because like they're like, thank you for this. It's like, or like this changed this, and I already told 15 people about this. And like, it's just, yeah. It's probably the most rewarding thing I've ever done in life.
Yeah. And that's why so many people get hooked on the fitness and wellness industry, right?
Yeah.
The rewards aren't just financial, it's very tangible changes in
Very
people's
human.
lives, which is great.
Yeah.
Last question, 2-part question, but as the fitness community, fitness industry community listens to this, and what do you need help with? Like, what would you like people to reach out to you about, and then where would you like them to go?
Oh, I love that question. So the most important thing for me is we're not trying to supplant anyone in the industry. The way I see it is, as I said earlier, for those who are already into fitness, we're an add-on. We can do things that you couldn't do with other methodologies, but we're also not trying to supplant anything. So give you an example. For someone who has high volume training already, if you add another workout, that generally is a challenge for certain tissues in terms of recovery. So let's say, for example, my muscles are ready to be worked out on again, but the tendons haven't recovered yet because they have much less blood circulation. So if you then put something on top of it, you run into tendon issues, and this is like what people like work out a lot. I have biceps tendon issues, like a little bit, but
yeah, me too.
I had that. So we're not trying to supplant anyone. We're really an add-on for people who are in the fitness industry, and we have several personal trainers who are like using this as an add-on tool with their customers, or even celebrity trainers that have customers that travel or go on set and they can't travel with them. They basically set them up with a suit, send them on the journey, and then while they're not with them in LA or in New York, they're training on Katalyst based on the training plan that they did, and then they come back and then do other work again. And it's a complement to the existing fitness industry, but then also it allows trainers to serve audiences that they weren't able to serve before. And if it's our product or if it's another EMS product, honestly, like I don't care. Like, just look into the benefits of this and don't look at it from oh, it's no weights, it's like it's a fad. Be curious about it. Like, see what it can do. Because as a trainer or a studio owner or whatsoever, like, how can I make this a better experience for my customers? I think that be open to it. Because in fitness, we've literally been doing the same thing for 3,000 years with different versions of it. Like, the Olympic Games are the same. Yes, we had pickleball, but other than that, it's like roughly the same thing. So I would really say, like, be curious, look into it. We've done a lot of advancements in nutrition, in hydration, in sleep, and all these things. But how do we actually stress the muscles to have a growth result? Be curious. That's what I would say. And then reach out if you want to collaborate. Like, we're literally like, we're here. Like, we work with everyone, not against anyone.
Awesome. And where do they go? They just go to the website. I know you're on LinkedIn.
Yeah. So go to the website, contact our team, like contact support, press, like whatever you like, depending on, like, it will end up in the same team at the end of the day. Like, reach out to us, DM us on Instagram, like, anything that you want to do. And let's talk.
Oh, fantastic. Well, Bjorn, I really appreciate you joining me. You got a great vibe about you. I think the timing finally seems right for this, and you're primed to really leverage that. So I'm excited for you and see where this goes. So super interesting stuff, man. Love to have you back on about a year, get all the updates. But other than that, thank you so much for joining me. And ladies and gentlemen, Bjoern Woltermann.
Thank you so much, Eric. It's been a pleasure.
Likewise.